Today's edition of the Megacast begins now. Welcome to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Oakland County and the state of Michigan. I'm your host, Tyler Kieft. You can always stay up to date with us and all of our partnering stations throughout Oakland County and around the Great Lakes State by visiting our website on civiccentertv.com/megacast. As I said, you'll find a link to every one of our partnering stations, including community TV and radio stations in your community right here in Oakland County, and statewide programming for free on your smartphones, on your smart TVs, and on the web from My Michigan TV, our co-flagship, can also be linked on our Megacast page on civiccentertv.com. In addition, civiccentertv.com/megacast is the place for you to go if you're not able to join us for the entirety of our Monday through Friday live shows from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. You can always find our full episodes and each individual segment on demand. civiccentertv.com/megacast, the place to go for all things this show each and every day. A great place to go for local news updates every morning before our show and follow along during our show, and even check back afterwards if you're not able to tune in, just to get those little bites of the most important stories that we're finding each and every morning of the week here in Oakland County and statewide, is our local news page on civiccentertv.com. Just click on our local news page at the top of the page on your computer web browser, or it's in the left margin on the drop-down menu if you're viewing us on your mobile phone or on other mobile devices such as tablets. They may put you to our mobile website automatically in your browser. In that case, all of these other links that are usually at the top of the page are there on the left margin of the screen, and so you'll be able to find our local news page right there, or type in civiccentertv.com/local-news to find our top stories and public health information each and every day. Our top story this morning comes from Mike McConnell at the Oakland Press. More summer fun and fun year-round is on its way potentially to the city of Royal Oak as the Downtown Development Authority, or DDA, announced a new event series called Social District Saturdays, coming to Royal Oak this summer. The events will be held in 3 places: Centennial Commons Park, as well as other various locations on both 5th Street and Center Street. There will be plenty of fun for all different varieties and tastes, with yard games such as cornhole and others, musicians, and a variety of other performers expected at each of these events all throughout the summer and into September. The series reached unanimous approval last week by the Downtown Development Authority and is set to begin in June, with events running all the way through mid-September. Once a month is currently the plan as of this time. Part of the aim of the event series is to engage residents and visitors in the city of Royal Oak's social district, encouraging people to venture not only throughout the various events and games and musicians and so on that will be available on Social District Saturdays, but also into the restaurants and the bars nearby to buy food and drinks. Of course, now they're allowing you to take your drinks out of those bars and walk around with them and enjoy the outdoors, enjoy the city, enjoy the other different games and activities that you can engage in during these sorts of events or otherwise. Of course, responsibly is always encouraged. And then draw more people and business into the city as well. It's all about drawing more attention to the city of Royal Oak, getting those businesses more patrons from within the city and those visiting outside of the city, and really making it an engaging downtown. Said downtown manager Daniel Hill, it doesn't just create a social district, but it gives people activities to engage in while they're in that social district as well, especially on these particular days. In addition, Hill addressed the safety concerns that always come along with these sorts of planned events or gathering spaces, discussing the need for road closures on these social district Saturdays and rerouting traffic. Of course, that's going to go through the Royal Oak Police Department, maybe with partnership from other nearby agencies such as the Oakland County Sheriff's Office or nearby departments. As part of local mutual aid partnerships could also play a role in that, with local as well as what performances will be permitted under current city ordinances and how certain performers that may come in as part of this series, most of which will be acoustic musicians according to this article, but maybe other musicians or other kind of performers too that may perform in the streets, what sort of permits they're going to need, what sort of processes they're going to have to go through in order to be able to perform at these different events and be permitted by the police Police Department, by Public Safety, as well as the Downtown Development Authority in order to engage in these events. And the community continues to have its opportunity for feedback and their input as well, with the DDA continuing to hold public meetings and have the project be better understood by the community before it ultimately gets sent to the City Commission for its final approval. Thus far, some of the community's suggestions for Social District Saturday are particularly on the design and special features front and have included seating, greenery, lighting, more bike parking, and possibly even a water feature somewhere within these social districts, these three areas that they may hold these events as another additional attraction to bring people in, especially during a hot summer. You get a little bit of that mist off of a water feature like that. Could be a nice little additional amenity to attract people in as they're hanging out in Royal Oak. The first planned Social District Saturday of the summer is scheduled tentatively at this point for June 10th. Again, it's tentative because it hasn't been approved yet by the City Commission. It hasn't gone through its final planning stages yet in the Downtown Development Authority, but that's of course oncoming as we're getting really close to that first scheduled date on June 10th. There will also be, as of now, there's tentatively scheduled one other edition of Social District Saturday in July, August, and in September, with the final one, if I'm recalling correctly, September 16th in the city of Royal Oak. More information on this series of events and how you can provide your input on if you're living in the city of Royal Oak or nearby can be found in this article from the Oakland Press, linked on our website on our local news page on civiccentertv.com. Also making headlines today on our local news page from MLive's Emily Bingham, Michigan camping season is underway. And with the season in full swing, enthusiasts have taken to social media to discuss their ideal timelines for getting into their beloved campsites all across the Great Lakes state. With it, a debate on how hard-timed those check-ins really are. Does 3 p.m. for check-in mean 3 p.m. sharp, or could you arrive a little bit early, get to your campsite a little bit early, and have a little bit extra time in those places you love so much in the great outdoors? Some say yes, while others argue you can get to your campsite even earlier than scheduled. Well, the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, or DNR, is not one of those who agrees with the flexibility, at least not anymore. The DNR is reminding campers this season that their 3 p.m. check-in times at state parks are in fact hard set times, and early arrival does not necessarily mean you are going to get into those campsites you've rented earlier than scheduled, per the DNR's rules and regulations linked in this article. Jason Fleming from the DNR said that they have allowed in the past early check-ins on occasion during what's mostly referred to as the shoulders of the season. So that's really in the early parts of the camping season, early spring, right around this kind of time, through the later parts of the fall, where we're in those peak seasons for camping in Michigan. There's end of the peak seasons, at the tail ends of those peak parts of the season, where there's not as many people that are out and about camping or looking to get into these campsites, so there's greater availability. There's less work that needs to be done across these state park campsites in order to make sure they're all ready and prepared and in peak condition for those that are arriving to get some peace and quiet in the great outdoors. However, over the time, the occasional exceptions grew into simply being the exception to the rule, said Fleming. So the DNR is cracking down, and by that I mean simply asking that campers arrive as scheduled and saying they're not going to be as lenient as they've been in the past about whether or not those 3 p.m. check-in times mean arrive at or after 3 p.m. to check into your campsites. According to Fleming, 3 p.m. check-in times are for a reason, allowing staff to improve the parks, ready the campsites, and, quote, it also helps us be more consistent and manage expectations throughout the entire system, end closed quote. You can find a full list of camping rules and regulations at state parks on the DNR's website. A link in this article from MLive at the bottom is provided. Click through and read the entire article and find that link at the bottom of this webpage from MLive by going to our local news page on civiccentertv.com. Again, this applies to state parks. You may be able to get earlier check-in on non-state parks, maybe a federal park in the state of Michigan, or other local county parks, or other private parks too as well. They may have different regulations. I would encourage you as you're planning your camping trips this summer, any trip, to make sure you know the rules, the regulations, what's expected of you as someone renting out these locations, living in these locations on a temporary basis, and make sure that you're following along with what is asked of you. And of course, as we used to say in the Boy Scouts, leave no trace on your way out. Leave that camping site in the same condition or better condition than you found it before without disrupting the area around you. Michigan is such a great place for camping all throughout the spring, the summer, and even into much of the fall. I actually even enjoy camping sometimes in the earlier parts of the winter. I'm not a big fan of the cold weather and the snow and all that in the great outdoors, but hey, there's nothing like some good old-fashioned quiet time out in nature, sitting around a campfire and enjoying the great outdoors in Michigan, where we get all 4 seasons throughout the year, so you can experience a variety of different camping experiences all throughout the year. Again, that article on our local news page today from MLive, civiccentertv.com. Additionally, making headlines from Matthew Farr at the Oakland Press, some not so good news for Oakland County's public schools, as metrics are showing that 27 of the county's 28 public school districts saw drops in enrollment between the 2019-2020 school year and this school year. Of course, 2019-2020 being that initial pandemic year where the pandemic was onset in that second semester or third trimester of the school year, depending on which district you're in. The only district in Oakland County during that time that didn't see enrollment fall was the Clarkston Public School District. All other 27 school districts in Oakland County saw their enrollment drop between that school year and this present school year. Just over the past 3 years alone, enrollment across all of Oakland County's public schools fell by over 9,600 students, a drop that can be quite costly for public school districts, with just a 25 student drop, for reference, translating to over $225,000 in lost funding through education from the state of Michigan. In our local area, the school districts most affected by enrollment drops were in Madison, which saw a near 20%, just a little bit under 20% drop in enrollment in just those 3 years. Oak Park, Pontiac, Waterford, and Southfield, in that order, were the districts most severely affected. And this is not an uncommon metric across our local area here in southeastern Michigan, with Oakland County's enrollment drop of 9,664 students, smack dab in the middle between Macomb County's 6,037 student drop and Wayne County's 11,662 student enrollment drops, respectively, from 2019-2020 to the present. In comparison, charter schools in Oakland County have seen either steadying enrollment from 2019-2020 to the present, and one school in particular, that being Lighthouse Connections, a charter school in our county, actually saw their enrollment skyrocket, actually went up nearly 5-fold during that same time period, from just over 500 students in the 2019-2020 school year to now just about 2,500 students today, just under 2,500 students enrolled in Lighthouse Connections to this day. A 2022 University of Michigan study referenced several times in this article as they were going through some of these metrics, some of the rationale behind why public school enrollment rates have fallen during this time period. Included the article stating, quote, "The study found that districts providing in-person options during the pandemic saw more students leave for homeschooling than districts offering only remote or hybrid options," and closed quote. This was the opposite case for public schools that did simply remote learning or did hybrid options, says Tara McBride from Michigan State University, who also was quoted by the Oakland Press, saying that schools then went remote or hybrid saw more students leave for private schools as opposed to homeschooling as a public alternative, with many of these private schools either providing mostly in-person options or more favorable options than maybe some of these public school districts did, as they were following state and federal regulations. What's really unfortunate in these numbers, and what I'm reading into this more than anything else, is that the school districts that seem to be the most affected by these enrollment drops are school districts that are already either in lower income areas and getting less funding through local tax dollars, or have already seen enrollment issues in the near past, and that's also affected their statewide funding. I think about our local districts really close to us here in our flagship area in the greater West Bloomfield community, like Pontiac, those that are in our coverage area, in our network, like the Waterford School District and others nearby, like Southfield, that have already been affected by enrollment issues in the past, by local tax dollars being a problem as well for further school improvements and further funding of these school districts. That also plays a big role in this. And having an enrollment drop in some cases, like in Madison, where there was a nearly 20% drop in those enrollment numbers, that's going to have a massive effect on the funding for these school districts. Now these school boards and these administrators need to move more funds around to provide a high quality education that you would expect here in Oakland County at least nearby a same level. And on top of that, try to bring more students back in to the school district that may have left for charter schools, may have left for private schools, or families that may be considering leaving the area altogether to get into other school districts that are better funded through school of choice. This is all affecting our local school districts, and what's unfortunate is the most affected seem to be those that are in some lower income areas already, are already affected by improper state and federal funding for education in lower income areas versus higher income areas. And that's going to have a big impact on those kids' education on top of the impact they already have being in one area of Oakland County versus another. Population drop is also a big factor in this. We talked about this last week. The state of Michigan's population is continuing to fall. We've had more births in the last year, less births in the last year than we've had deaths in the last year. And that's been a growing trend in Michigan over the last several years. You look at some of our episodes from last week, it was later on last week that we talked about this at length of how it's affecting the state on the economic side. That also impacts us on the education front, which of course will impact our economic future as well as these kids get through, hopefully through high school and move on to either great careers right away or into higher education and then on to great careers. How could that also affect us here in the state of Michigan and right here in Oakland County? More to come on that, certainly, as this story develops over time and these metrics change and get updated over the next few years. Additionally, making headlines today on our local news page from the Detroit News is Maisha Johnson. How about some good news instead of all the bad so far? Organizations across Metro Detroit are set to get an influx of some much needed cash to help continue their massive impact on our local communities, doing so much good throughout southeastern Michigan. The Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan recently informed several local organizations about over $800,000 in funding coming their way as part of philanthropic grants from the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation. Grants that will see funding reach nearly 40 local nonprofits, charities, and other organizations across various sectors. Among those receiving money here in Oakland County, the Art Foundation, who is set to receive $14,000 to go toward a pilot art therapy program for cancer caregivers, those that are taking time out of their day, that are putting forth such great effort to care for their children, for their parents, or for others that are undergoing treatments for cancer that can be so time consuming, so emotionally consuming. And this provides them an opportunity to engage in an art therapy program on their own time as they can find that time in their schedule with some flexibility. And $14,000 from the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation through the Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan, that's going to go a long way. In addition, Team Guts out of the Hunter Community Center in Clawson will receive $22,000 to go towards summer camp programs for kids with special needs, both here in Oakland County and from our neighbors in Macomb County as well. It's all part of a continued legacy of giving from the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. organization, continuing the longtime philanthropic efforts of its namesake, a native Detroiter and Lake Grosse Pointe resident, whose additional accomplishments throughout his life and career included owning and operating the NFL's Buffalo Bills for a number of years before he passed away just a few years ago. In a statement, Richard DeVore of the Community Foundation for Southeastern Michigan said, quote, "This year's grant making reaches into the heart of the rural, suburban, and urban communities, investing in our organizations that are committed to making Southeast Michigan a desirable place to live, work, and play," and closed quote. A great story from Maisha Johnson. Highly encourage you to click through and read that in its entirety and see all the other organizations that are going to be affected by this influx of grant funding and helped in so many ways, helping people here in Oakland County and in other areas of Metro Detroit as well. That article linked on our website, civiccentertv.com, on our local news page. Finally, making headlines today on our local news page from Mark Torregrossa at MLive. Depending on how you like your summer heat, this could either be bad news or it could be a welcome relief based on previous forecasts. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, has made its monthly updates to its seasonal forecast and is showing Michigan's summer as being a bit cooler than previously expected. Now, that does not mean a cold summer is ahead for us in the state of Michigan as opposed to a hot summer, just a little bit more temperate when it's at its peak. Previous NOAA forecasts predicted summer temperatures to be 40% higher than its average for the summer here in Michigan. This month, that metric went down slightly, with NOAA now forecasting temperatures to be about 33%, or a third roughly, higher, warmer than in normal temperature conditions for the summer here in Michigan coming up this season. Torregrossa said the main culprit for the change is rapidly developing El Nino patterns out west, which tends to lead to cooler summers here in the Great Lakes region, including Michigan and nearby Midwestern states like Minnesota and Ohio and Wisconsin and so on. Other experts Torregrossa references in this article made a point to say that El Nino patterns tend to have the biggest impact on our warmest days in our particular climate here in the Midwest and in the Great Lakes region. So that means that that you can expect on the hotter days it may be a little bit cooler at the peak this summer than it was previously expected. They do also say, these experts that Mark Torregrossa references in this article, that this El Nino pattern, these developing El Nino patterns, especially if they develop more rapidly, while they may have a cooling effect on our hottest days, they may have a marginal effect at most on our most temperate days. So don't expect those average temperatures, the average summer day, to really have that big of a swing one way or the other in temperature this summer, but those hottest days may be a little bit cooler than previously expected. So for those that like a little bit more of a temperate summer with lower heat, especially given the humidity that we have in Michigan over the summer season, this might be good news to you. But hey, still plenty of time for things to change again as the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, updates these predictions, these forecasts for the upcoming season month after month. So as we get closer into the month of June, and as we get into the month of June, we'll see probably another forecast. Perhaps they'll expect the average per day temperature to be a little less warmer than normal temperatures based on how trends have gone from 40% just a month ago to now expected 33% warmer than average temperatures on those hottest days in particular. Could that go lower? We'll have to stay tuned to MLive's website, Mark Torregrossa, for more updates. And you can also find those through our local news page, excuse me, as well as other news and information every single day before our live shows. CivicCenterTV.com on our local news page is the place to go for all of that. In addition, public health information, including information on how to survive the heat and how to tolerate the heat better here in Michigan during the summer seasons, can be found from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and the Oakland County Health Division. We have links to each and every one of their public health websites on the top of our page, on our local news page, CivicCenterTV.com. Those will take you to their COVID-19 specific web pages, but it's also a great place to go to get to their main website, know you're at a reliable source, and be able to navigate through the rest of their website to find more information on whatever public health matters you may need to know. So go ahead and click through those on our local news page, or click through to each and every one of these articles making headlines today and throughout the week on CivicCenterTV.com. Just click on our local news page. Again, for those of you on our web browser, top of the page, it'll say local news. For those on your mobile phone, on certain tablets that may take you to our mobile website, there's going to be a drop-down menu on the left side of the screen at the top that you'll need to click through and then go to our local news page. And you'll see all the same information, all in the same place, CivicCenterTV.com on our local news page. We have a great program ahead on today's edition of the Megacast. On the other side of this break, we talk about recreation. We talk about getting out into Michigan's parks, especially as the weather gets really nice outside and warms up. So many great places to explore across the state of Michigan. Dave Lorenz from Travel Michigan through the Michigan Economic Development Corporation will join us to talk about that and more coming up next. Stay tuned. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Watch Civic Center TV with our brand new live captions. To turn on live captions, go to CivicCenterTV.com and click Watch Live. In your web browser, click on the Options tab in the top right and find the Accessibilities tab. Then just switch on live captions to heighten your enjoyment of our local programming. Thank you so much for watching Civic Center TV. Stop by West Bloomfield Town Hall June 14th and get your health in check at the 14th Annual Greater West Bloomfield Health and Wellness Fair. Over 40 businesses, organizations, and vendors take the time to showcase healthy practices, tips, and resources for the community. Young or old, there's something for everyone and everybody. 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Wednesday, June 14th, the 14th Annual Greater West Bloomfield Health and Wellness Fair. This community update from Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
When you have a gambling problem, you have a money problem. Don't let your gambling cause you financial hardship. If you or someone you love is struggling with gambling, we can help. Get free confidential counseling and win your life back. Learn more at michigan.gov/problemgambling.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Oakland County and the state of Michigan. I'm your host, Tyler Kieft. You can keep up to date with us every day on civiccentertv.com/megacast, as well as all of our partnering stations in your local communities and throughout the state of Michigan, such as My Michigan TV, by clicking through each and every one of their links on our website on civiccentertv.com/megacast. It brings you more great original programming from your hometown and all across the state of Michigan in the 23 hours of the day that you're not with us here on the Megacast throughout the state, live and live to tape. You can find us live, of course, on Civic Center TV and on the Media Network of Waterford on 88.1 The Biff every morning throughout the work week, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and find us live to tape in Lake Orion and Orion Township on ONTV and in the Birmingham Bloomfield area on Birmingham Area Municipal Access throughout the afternoons, evenings, and weekends, live to tape, as we call it in the business. All those links on civiccentertv.com/megacast, as well as places you can find our full episodes and each individual segment. Joining us now on the program as we are into the warmer seasons of the year. The sun is shining on this Monday morning and hopefully continues to shine all summer long. And as we get into the fall season, a great time to get back out and about throughout the state of Michigan and explore both those fan favorite places like Tequamanon Falls and Pictured Rocks and Lake Michigan on the coast of Grand Haven and so on, but also some of those hidden treasures, including in our major cities. Joining us to talk about all these great destinations and how you can best explore the state of Michigan this summer is Dave Lorenz, the Vice President of Travel Michigan with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. Those are the guys behind Pure Michigan. He's joining us now on the Megacast. Dave, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hey, good morning, Tyler. I don't know about you, but I'm dealing with allergies this week. It's been a really bad allergy season for people who deal with seasonal allergies. And these days, you never know. So I was actually checked out the other day and they said, yeah, really bad year for people like me who have allergies, probably because of the kind of up and down temperatures. So let's just hope that those temperatures go up and stay up for the rest of the season.
Yeah, hopefully when they do go back to some sort of normality here in the coming days, it does stay at that point, especially as it's very clear people are ready to get back out and about again this spring and summer season in the state of Michigan. The excitement is already there. I'm seeing more and more people out on the roads, out at local events, and there's so much excitement behind that, Dave, especially coming into this summer where unlike last summer and the summer before that, where things were still sort of kind of warming back up after the COVID-19 pandemic, they're back in full swing at this point, or at least it seems that way. Is that the case in the travel and tourism industry? Has it made that full comeback to that full operation we saw pre-pandemic?
Yeah, we're almost back. You know, you can look at the research and you can tell that almost everyone feels like the pandemic is gone, and it is. But as we all know, COVID's around like the flu and like so many other things like allergies. It'll be around with us now, just the way it is. But we've learned how to cope. We know we can travel safely. We can live a quote unquote regular life again. And that's really great to know. And it's really kind of helped to change the attitude of the traveler. Even as we deal with inflation and world turmoil issues, people are ready to get back out there in full force. We can see everybody going to Michigan.org like never before. And that is a great indicator that people are doing their research and they're getting ready to book their trips for the summer. And I do think that's a really good idea, though, that you do your research now. And then part of that is by going to Michigan.org and then make some bookings, even if you're not exactly sure about maybe the travel plans of your traveling partners out there, because I know a lot of people like me, we travel with friends in another household, so you always have to get those schedules aligned, but get them booked right now. If you have to change it later on, just follow the policies of the hotels and such. And if you're far enough out, I'm sure you'll have no problem, but get it done now. It's going to be a really busy season.
Yeah, and it already has been. Just the events we've had early on in this spring and summer season. The later parts of the spring, things are really picking up. So as people are making those travel plans and they are preparing, you mentioned making those plans early, making those bookings as early as you can. Just what is the expectation? What are the numbers pointing to in terms of how big of a jump travel and tourism in Michigan is expected to make in the summer of 2023?
Yeah, we just got the 2021 overall numbers. I know it seems a little weird that it takes that long, but it takes a long time to gather up all that research. And we could even tell in 21 that people were getting back to their travel plans, at least to head up north in the summertime. So our small communities, especially the lakefront communities in the Upper Peninsula, almost entirely, really had a lot of travel in summer of 21. We know from talking to the industry that 22, the same thing happened, but people have only started to return to those kind of like traditional waterfront type communities and smaller communities. They haven't fully returned to the big cities yet. So we're still seeing kind of an unbalanced recovery. I bet we're going to see in 22 that the numbers came in even higher than in 2019 prior to the pandemic for those up north places, waterfront communities. But I'm really hoping this is the year that we also head back to Detroit and Grand Rapids and Lansing and Kalamazoo and Battle Creek and Saginaw and Flint and you name it, kind of our bigger communities as well, because they offer so much. And a lot of the things they offer aren't just in the traditional city environment. You got to have a lot of outdoor things to do. I was in Flint just last Friday, and it's like so many other places. They just kept on going with fixing up and bettering the community, even during the pandemic. In addition to that, I think there are 200 murals that you can go around downtown to look at. Don't forget, Genesee County is the biggest county park system in the state, and they have virtually every type of park you might want to use, from ORV trails to really cool parks that have a tree house in it, to the railroad, Crossroads Village, and all that. So, there's so many cool things you can do in our cities or nearby our cities as well. And again, I really recommend you make your bookings now and then try to get out to places that are new to you. The whole Pure Michigan campaign this year is about keeping it fresh, kind of freshening up your attitudes and your perspectives and getting out there to discover new places and new people. And I think you're going to discover something about yourself too. We always do when we travel. I think we expect to see people who might look different than us or seem to be different than us in some way, live a different lifestyle than us. I think we expect them to truly be different. But what we always find is, we're all the same in the most essential and important ways. So it's just a really great idea to go to these places we haven't been to for a while, and really discover a lot about them and about yourself and about various communities. And as you do, know that you are supporting that community, you're supporting jobs, you're bringing in tax revenue so we can fix those darn roads, and it's a great way to work together.
Yeah, something that has been heavily invested in by the state of Michigan and by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation and so on has been putting an effort into reclaiming the status of our state parks and rebuilding parts of our state parks that not necessarily have been neglected, but have been in need of some repairs in recent years and are finally getting that. We got the news this week that Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore, their 4-mile long trail along the waterfront, that's going to reopen after a couple years of repairs this summer in early July. And And so just how much of an effort has been made by the MEDC and the state of Michigan, by the governor's office, to invest in our parks and create even more of these opportunities to explore some really cool places, really cool landscapes that maybe aren't often explored by people that are looking for different places to go in Michigan?
Yeah, I'm on the executive board of the U.S. Travel Association, and I took part in the advocacy efforts at the federal level to try to get a lot more money for our national park assets around the country. Because just as we found at our state parks, we have all these beautiful places around the country and around Michigan. But if you don't fund the upgrades and the updates and the repairs to them, they just start to pile on. And before you know it, it's even more expensive. So we were successful in getting more money for national parks. That's one of the reasons why you see that money being invested in great places like Pictured Rocks. And then at the statewide level, the governor was successful in gathering up some significant dollars, part of that federal funding mixed with state funding, to help really improve our state park assets as well. We have the best state park system in the country. Bold statement, I know. But it's true. And in fact, if you talk to other state park folks around the country, they all look to Michigan as the innovators in park services. If you look at what our parks are doing in the accessibility realm, I'm so very proud of all that they're doing to make nature available to even the disabled in a variety of ways. It's very impressive. So I expect you're going to see a lot of that work this year, and we should all be proud of that. And just realize that we can help that work as well by purchasing our annual passport when we get our driver's license. Doesn't cost much. I mean, it's about $12, whatever it is. I mean, it's nothing when you think about the many state park assets you can visit with that annual pass and the good that those dollars do to keep those state parks really great.
Your trip begins at Michigan.org. Plenty of information on different places to explore all across the state of Michigan, whether you're looking for a variety of attractions or activities or big cities to find, or those iconic places in our parks all across the state of Michigan, north, south, east, and west. Michigan.org is the place to go for that. Another great place to go to learn about a lot of these places, including, as you mentioned earlier, Dave, some of those cities that maybe don't get as much appreciation from those looking to travel in Michigan or to Michigan, is My Michigan TV, where you and Tom Dalton from Under the Radar Michigan just went all across the state, so many different places for Pure Michigan, a return to summer, the road trip. Tell us about that program and how many different places that you went and all the different information you learned, those resources available for free about all these different great places to travel this summer.
Yeah, we had a great week last week for National Travel and Tourism Week, and we decided that we really wanted to go around the state, get to as many places as we could to really emphasize the importance of travel and tourism, not only as an economic driver, but as a social integrator. Travel and tourism literally brings people together and figuratively as well. So we were we were at the Big House in Ann Arbor on Monday. On Tuesday, we were at the Kuwaitan Casino in Sault Ste. Marie. On Wednesday, a beautiful outdoor deck along the Pine River in Charlevoix. On Wednesday, we were downtown at their wonderful park right next to where they keep the farmers market in South Haven. And let's see, maybe that was Thursday. I've lost track. And then Friday, we were in Flint, downtown Flint. And it was a spectacular week. I want to thank Dave and Jared from My Michigan TV for all the engineering. You can tell the work they did there was pretty spectacular. And these conversations I know are on your website on My Michigan TV. They're also on michigan.org/NTTW, National Travel and Tourism Week. What we found by doing these things during this week in previous years is that people may not look at the shows already that week, but they will look at them over the next few months. And like last year's, we only did one show from Mackinac Island last year, and I think it had, a couple 100,000 views just from Michigan.org. So, it's on YouTube. It's on a variety of channels out there, including the UTR website as well. So it's an amazing thing that people can find streaming program on channels like this now, and then keep on going back with those recordings and see why they should visit their communities. And man, there's a lot of really cool things happening out there that I wasn't even aware of. And if I'm not aware of it, there aren't many people who know all those things that are out there either. So I'm hoping people will either go to and look at those shows here on My Michigan TV, or michigan.org/NTTW.
Places in Michigan, whether you want to learn about Sault Ste. Marie, the city of Flint, or other places all across the state of Michigan. Dave Lorenz and Tom Dalton from Under the Radar Michigan, talking to so many different people in so many different sectors of travel and tourism in all of these places all across the state of Michigan. Dave, thank you as always for joining us and previewing an exciting summer season ahead in Michigan.
Great to be with you, Tyler. As we always say, your trip begins at michigan.org. See you there.
Yeah, we will. We will see you at michigan.org. And Dave was right earlier on about those allergies. And I have this fancy mute button here next to me that I can press down to clear my throat or take a sip of water without it going through the microphone, and just accidentally didn't depress that again after I was done clearing my throat and taking a quick sip of water. So apologies for that brief moment where you couldn't hear me, or congratulations, depending on who's complaining about it. But again, michigan.org, great place to go for more resources on places to visit all across the state of Michigan and to plan your trip ahead. As Dave suggested, plan ahead. It's going to be a busy summer here in the Great Lakes state. We'll take a break. On the other side of the break, more things to do right here in the state of Michigan, here in Southeast Michigan. In July, the Ann Arbor Art Fair is back, and we'll talk to one of the artists that you'll see at this year's event. Coming up next, you're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
There are many different kinds of noses. Our noses can sniff out all kinds of things. Good things and bad things. Your nose knows if those sniffles are just a cold, allergies, or COVID-19. So swab it. Test it. It's good to know.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Oakland County and the state of Michigan. I'm your host, Tyler Kieft. You can always find us live from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., as well as all of our partnering stations, links, and all of our shows and individual segments on demand on civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Joining us now on the program is one of the many hundreds of artists that you'll see over 30 blocks of Ann Arbor during the month of July 20th through July 22nd at the Ann Arbor Art Fair. Ashley Auerbach is a pottery artist that you'll see at this year's event and joins us now on the Megacast. Alicia Auerbach. Alicia, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you on to talk about your appearance at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair. But more importantly, talk about your art, as so many people will come out to the Ann Arbor Art Fair this year and see your work and see the work of so many other immensely talented artists from here in Michigan and around the U.S. and around the world. So tell us about your art. I understand that you and your husband both are pottery artists and that you'll be at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair. So tell us about your pottery.
Yeah, we make functional ceramics, so bowls, cups, mugs, plates, jars, things like that. And we wheel throw, and then we alter them by cutting away at the clay. So we have different wires and tools that we've made to kind of cut away at the clay and create different textures on the surface.
And so, as I mentioned, you and your husband, you share a studio. Talk about that dynamic as you're both creating art and do this on a professional level and you also are going to these art shows in your home state and throughout the world.
So we actually met in college in a fine arts program. We both got degrees in fine arts with a concentration in ceramics. So we were really used to working together already in studios and critique settings. And we also did an apprenticeship together. So just being in the studio with him is really great. I think we kind of feed off of each other and are able to help each other kind of troubleshoot through different scenarios.
It's something that I noticed on your website, and you can kind of see from some of the works that are behind you there, Alicia, is that a lot of the pottery you're making is functional. You can use these different works of art not just as decorative means, but they're also functional, and you can use them each and every day. So how does that how does that factor in too as you're designing these pieces and ultimately making them for sale?
So I really enjoy cooking. Food has been a big part of my life. Culturally speaking, with my family, I have a grandmother who used to run a restaurant that had Mexican and Middle Eastern foods, kind of my two heritages. And when I'm making pots, I'm often thinking about how food is going to play in or how they're going to fit into a home, whether it be a vase or whether it be a tea set or something that's made for like a specific serving purpose. So I do enjoy the functionality aspect of it.
And in terms of design, texture is something you also reference as being an important element of that. So why is that the case? Why is texture such a big part of how you design these different original pieces that you're making and that we'll see in Ann Arbor in July?
Apart from just the aesthetic of it, it does add a tactility to the piece where it's fun to hold, it's fun to pick up and use, and you're kind of always discovering more things about each piece as you're using it, and seeing little details. My husband includes crushed granite in his work, and that just adds a really nice rocky surface. And so kind of as you're using it, you're always finding these little details, and the closer you look, just appreciating it a little bit more.
And so let's go back to the beginning of your journey, Alicia, as you're getting into art and then ultimately to where you realize that you can make a career out of this and do something you love every single day. Where did that begin and how did that develop over time?
So as a kid, I always loved making whatever I could get my hands on, beads or fabric. I would just spend hours creating. But, when I signed up for my first college class, I wanted to take an elective, an art elective. My high school actually didn't have an art program. And I really wanted to get into a drawing class, but the drawing class was full and the ceramics class was the only one open. This is a little bit embarrassing. I didn't even know what ceramics was. So I had to ask someone what ceramics was, and they explained it to me. It's pottery. You throw it on a wheel and, you can make pots, cups, bowls. And I was like, well, that sounds interesting. And so I went ahead and signed up for it. It was my only option. And I was just hooked immediately. And I had teachers that encouraged me along the way. I started spending all my time in the studio. And it's just been really great. Just had kind of one thing lead to another. It's been over 10 years now that me and my husband have been making pots. So it's been a fun journey.
You can see some of Alicia and her husband's art by visiting their website at OurbackStudios.com, and also explore more of the artists at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair by going to theannarborartfair.com as well. Joining us on today's edition of the Megacast is Alicia Auerbach, a pottery artist you'll see at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair. Again, that is July 20th, 21st, and 22nd, Thursday and Friday, the 20th and the 21st, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Saturday, the 22nd, the final day, is 10 a.m. until 8 p.m. 3 separate art fairs, all in one, on over 30 blocks of the city of Ann Arbor in the downtown area. theannarborartfair.com is the place to go for that. And so, Alicia, earlier on, you mentioned that, your love of cooking and some of your heritage and your family, Mexican and Middle Eastern, has played a factor into the inspiration behind some of your pieces. But what also do you draw from as you're designing these pieces, that you're thinking about what you're going to make next, and then ultimately as you put those thoughts and those plans to work?
I wouldn't say it's one specific thing, but we do take inspiration, or I take inspiration from all different things. I really enjoy textures, so I'll create like a handmade stamp or a different tool and just begin working with it, and that'll kind of lead to one thing. One thing will lead to another, and so as I'm working, I'll like one aspect of something and think, well, what if I just tweak that? And a lot of the tools that we make really will inspire me to kind of see like, what will this create if I use this tool in a specific way.
Again, more information can be found on Alicia and her husband's art by visiting their website at OurBackStudios.com. OurBackStudios.com is the place to go. You can also explore some of Alicia's individual pieces and the pieces that she and her husband make together on that website before you even go to the Ann Arbor Art Fair and see it in person and talk more with Alicia about the art and hopefully purchase some art as well. July 20th, 21st, and 22nd at the Ann Arbor Art Fair. More information on theanarborartfair.com. And so for you, being a traveling artist, going to these different shows in all different places, both where you're from and even here in the state of Michigan, places like Ann Arbor, what's that experience like for you as an artist, but also just as an art lover yourself?
So it's great as an art lover. You know, I love meeting new artists and seeing what everyone's making. But also, when we're making work in the studio, we're kind of hermited away. So just being around so many new people and talking with them is always a joy.
Again, more information can be found on her website, OurBackStudios.com. You can see Alicia at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair, July 20th, 21st, and 22nd in Ann Arbor. TheAnnArborArtFair.com is the place to go to find more information on all the artists and other activities at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair. The original, the Ann Arbor Summer Art Fair, and the Ann Arbor Street Art Fair, all in one. 30 blocks of downtown Ann Arbor, July 20th through the 22nd. TheAnnArborArtFair.com. And of course, this is a great Midwestern tradition, one of the favorite art shows in all of the state of Michigan. Is this your first time in Ann Arbor, or have you been to this festival before?
It is my first time. I've heard really great things about this festival, so I'm really excited just to be able to experience something with such a rich tradition and well-attended, well-respected festival.
And so what drew you, you mentioned some of it just now, but what else sort of drew you to this art fair as another location for you to travel as you're selling your art all throughout the U.S.?
So we're based in Ohio, so Michigan is really close. And as we do festivals, we often ask people, what are your favorite art festivals to go to? We ask other artists what their favorite art festivals are, and Ann Arbor always comes up. So we just knew we had to put it on our list this year.
And so, Alicia, we see some of your art behind you there for those that are listening on the radio side, civiccentertv.com/megacast. You'll be able to see this on demand later on in the day today. For those that may be going out to the Ann Arbor Art Fair and are watching now on their local cable TV station or on our website on civiccentertv.com, tell us about some of the different pieces that you're planning to bring along with you to Ann Arbor this year.
A little bit of everything, lots of functional pieces. You can use cups, mugs, bowls, tea sets, jars, pitchers, bottles, some decorative pieces as well, vases, things like that.
And you can see all of Alicia's art on her website at OurBackStudios.com. OurBackStudios.com. That's AUERBACH Studios.com for more information. You can also find more info on all the artists at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair by going to TheAnnArborArtFair.com. Again, if you're watching, you're seeing on your screen right now some of these various pieces that Alicia has made, some of which are sold out, others that are still available. You can purchase on her website if you can't attend this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair, or come on down July 20th, 21st, and 22nd in the city of Ann Arbor. 30 blocks of their downtown with a variety of different artists from a variety of different disciplines. Over 1,000 artists, including Alicia Auerbach, who joins us on today's edition of the Megacast. Alicia, before we let you go, is there anything else that we haven't discussed yet about your art or about you joining us at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair that you'd like to discuss today?
Well, I would just love to meet you at the festival. Our booth number, we're going to be on Washington Street, and our booth number is 940. You can also find my husband and I on Instagram at Auerbach Studios. So would love to see you at the art festival this year. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you on as well. Thank you very much, Alicia. You can find all the information on all different locations that artists, including Alicia Auerbach, are going to be at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair at TheAnnArborArtFair.com to check out Alicia's art and find a link to her Instagram page as well. That's OurBackStudios.com. and Instagram. Her handle there is Our Back Studios as well. That is going to do it for today's edition of the Megacast. As always, you can join us on demand and live to tape on our website on civiccentertv.com/megacast. That's also a great place to go to explore the original programming in the other 23 hours of the day, Monday through Friday, that you're not with us live or live to tape from our partnering stations all throughout Oakland County and around the state of Michigan. Each and every one of those are linked on our Megacast page on civiccentertv.com. That includes our co-flagship at My Michigan TV with original programming for free on your smartphones and your smart TVs all across the Great Lakes state. In addition, civiccentertv.com/megacast is the place to go to find our full shows and each individual segment on demand. So whether you tune in for part of our show and have to leave for a variety of different reasons, work, your kids, recreation, appointments, whatever it may be, you can always come back and join us for the rest of our show on demand anytime in high definition on civiccentertv.com/megacast. Big thank you to everyone that joined us on today's edition of the show. Of course, Dave Lorenz from Travel Michigan for giving us so much great advice on getting ready for this summer travel season. And of course, Alicia Auerbach, who you'll see on July 20th, 21st, and 22nd at this year's Ann Arbor Art Fair. You can always join us Mondays now through July for more information on the Ann Arbor Art Fair, including artists every single week as you get ready to attend one of Michigan's premier art festivals this summer. Huge thank you as well to our crew, Jared Clark at the studio of My Michigan TV in Troy, Michigan, and our director as always today, Calvin Brown, operating out of Green Media Center in West Bloomfield Township. Until next time, I'm Tyler Keefe. Take care of each other, and we'll see you very soon.